The patrol cars rolled through the farm gates like they owned the land, lights flashing, engines growling, confidence dripping from every step. What they didn't know was that this visit would end very differently than planned. Everyone in the county knew the HOA president, a woman neighbors whispered about, the one who enforced rules like personal weapons. When she heard the farmer had stopped responding to warnings, she didn't hesitate. She sent a private patrol team, claiming trespass, noise violations, and illegal use of land. The farm sat quietly under the afternoon sun, animals calm, wind slow, nothing out of place. The patrol expected chaos. Instead, they found silence inside the farmhouse. The farmer sat at the kitchen table, calm, not worried, not rushing. He had already made a call earlier that morning, a call he hoped he'd never need to make. As boots crunched on gravel outside, one officer reached for the door handle, confident this would be another easy HOA win, but the farmer simply smiled, because someone important had arrived before them, and the patrol was about to learn who really had authority on that land. The door opened slowly, and the patrol stepped inside expecting resistance or excuses. Instead, they froze. Standing near the window was the county sheriff, calm, hands behind his back, eyes sharp and observant. The air shifted instantly. Confidence drained from the patrol's faces as they realized this was no routine call. The sheriff had arrived earlier, invited legally, with documents already reviewed. The farmer had grown tired of harassment, surprise inspections, and warnings taped to his gate. Every rule he followed still led to another complaint. So he stopped reacting and started preparing. The sheriff nodded once at the patrol, signaling them to stand down. He already knew why they were here. He also knew they had crossed a line. Outside, neighbors watched from a distance, phones raised, whispers spreading. This was not how HOA stories usually ended. The patrol leader tried to explain, but the sheriff raised a hand, stopping him mid-sentence. "This land isn't under your control," he said firmly, and that sentence cracked the entire HOA narrative wide open. The sheriff laid the documents across the table, each page quietly dismantling months of HOA threats. The farm existed outside HOA jurisdiction, a fact buried under intimidation and assumption. The farmer had purchased the land years earlier, long before the HOA expanded nearby. Boundaries were clear, zoning approved, permits valid. The HOA relied on fear, not facts. The patrol stood silently now, their authority shrinking with every word the sheriff spoke. Cameras outside kept rolling as neighbors realized something bigger was unfolding. The farmer didn't interrupt. He didn't gloat. He simply watched truth do the work he never could. The sheriff explained that repeated harassment could now be considered misconduct. The farmer had records, timestamps, letters, and witnesses. For the first time, the HOA president wasn't controlling the narrative. A phone buzzed in the patrol leader's pocket. It was her calling. He didn't answer, because in that moment, everyone understood the power balance had flipped, and the fallout was just beginning. Word traveled fast through the neighborhood. The HOA president arrived minutes later, her confidence loud, her tone sharp, demanding explanations. She stopped mid-step when she saw the sheriff. The smile faded. Her voice softened. The room no longer bent to her authority. She argued technicalities, raised her voice, accused the farmer of manipulation. The sheriff listened patiently, then asked one simple question she couldn't answer: "Where does your jurisdiction end?" Silence followed. The documents spoke louder than her rules. The patrol team avoided eye contact. The neighbors outside watched her control slip away in real time. The farmer finally spoke, not with anger, but disappointment. He explained how peaceful living turned into constant stress, how rules became weapons. The sheriff warned her clearly. Any further action against the farm would result in legal consequences. She nodded stiffly, defeated, and left without another word. As her car disappeared down the road, the neighbors realized this wasn't just a win, it was a message. The days that followed felt quieter than ever before. No warning letters. No surprise visits. No patrol cars. The farm breathed again. Neighbors began sharing their own stories, stories they were once afraid to tell. Fines without reason. Threats masked as rules. Pressure disguised as order. The farmer didn't celebrate. He focused on rebuilding trust, offering help, opening conversations. Strength, he learned, didn't always roar. Sometimes it stood firm and waited. The HOA president resigned weeks later. Official reasons were vague, but everyone knew the truth. Fear had lost its grip. the sheriff checked in one final time, reminding the farmer that standing up legally wasn't rebellion, it was responsibility. The farm became a symbol, not of defiance, but of boundaries, and people realized rules only work when fairness leads them. But the final twist wasn't the resignation, it was what the HOA quietly changed next, and no one expected it. The HOA rewrote its bylaws, removing patrol authority entirely. Complaints now required proof, transparency, and review. Power shifted back to the people it was meant to serve. The farmer watched from a distance, never attending meetings, never seeking credit. His silence spoke louder than protest ever could. New leadership focused on cooperation instead of control. Neighbors felt lighter. Homes felt safer. What began as intimidation ended as reform. The sheriff later admitted he'd seen many disputes, but few handled with such patience. The farmer had chosen strategy over shouting, preparation over panic. The story spread beyond the neighborhood, shared online, discussed quietly. Remembered clearly, not because of drama, but because of dignity. The farm remained peaceful, untouched, respected, and the lesson stayed simple: knowing your rights changes everything. But one last truth remained: the farmer never wanted power, he only wanted peace, and sometimes, standing still is the bravest move of all. Years later, the farm still stood under open skies, untouched by fear or false authority. Neighbors waved instead of whispering. Rules existed, but respect led them. The story became a reminder passed quietly from one homeowner to another. Not every fight needs noise. Some only need clarity. The farmer never spoke publicly about that day. He didn't need to. The land itself told the story. The patrol never returned. The HOA never crossed that line again. What changed everything wasn't anger, or revenge, or force. It was preparation, patience, and knowing when to invite the right person inside, and that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you love the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.